Hi, I'm the gadget guru, Andy Parr, and you're watching VOG.net. Here with me, the one and only Trekwolf164. We're at Volusia Motorsports in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, where we're having the VOG meetup today. Trekwolf, you had quite a journey getting down here. You came from upstate New York.
Correct.
I remember looking at the weather, and there was a massive snowstorm coming through. How'd you make it down here?
I waited for the storm to end. I was watching the weather. I intended to get on the road Sunday if I could, but this monsoon came up. It was coming across the whole coast. So I live on a creek, and needless to say, my property flooded. It looked like it was the end times. And when I woke up the next morning, my yard was dry, but it was 27 degrees and snow flurrying. So I checked the weather, and they said it would clear up by 10, and it did. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, I got on the bike. We proceeded to get on the 95 South. Had clear weather all the way down. Traffic was extremely light. People were actually very nice, which is unusual on 95. I had no incidents. I made it to Myrtle Beach in about 12 hours. The last 2 hours were agony. My right arm was killing me. I mean, even with cruise control, I was just in this right-hand position too long. Got a room for the night, stayed with some friends in a hotel, and then 7 hours to here for lunch. And then it's a trip back home after Deer Crusher gets a couple of tires and an oil change.
Now, that's quite of a journey to make for a free lunch. You think it was worth it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I went to Canada for a cup of coffee. So.
Now, this is the definition of a true rider. Now, let's talk about Deer Crusher itself. Okay. She has quite a history. How did she get the name Deer Crusher?
All right. I've been riding for years. I started out on dirt bikes and then graduated to road bikes. I hadn't ridden in a long time. I got a plane crash '86, and with the broken back and the other injuries I had, riding wasn't high on my list of priorities. But around 2007 or 8, I decided I had to get on wheels again. And I found Locomotion Power Sports in Suffern, New York, and he's a Triumph and Victory dealer. Now, I knew nothing about Victories, but I loved Triumph since I was a kid. So I ended up buying an '07 America. I had the America about 3 months, I think, and my honey, Donna, who I live with, insisted that I get a bike large enough for the both of us. So, you know, it was a tough decision, but I went and I rode everything. I rode Road Kings and Y Glides, and I didn't get on any Hondas, I'm sorry. But my dealer threw me the keys to a Vision and said, here, go for a ride on this. Well, that was all it took. I took the Vision out for a ride, and it was just on the road. It was just so easy to lay it around and do things with it. And then I went on some lousy roads, and it was still more comfortable than anything I'd ever been on. Long floorboards and stock. I mean, I didn't have to add anything to this bike except for GPS. I love it. Oh, anyway, I had the bike 5 days, and I was on my way to work. It was had rained the night before. The roads were wet, so I'm coming down the road. It's nighttime. It's dark, and on the side of the road, I see the green flash of deer's eyes. So I immediately got out of the gas and slowed down. The idiot jumped into the road, and now I was left with two options. I could try to stop, but I had never tried to panic stop this bike because I only had it 5 days. I could have went left or right, but the trees hurt. So I was hoping the deer would move. He didn't. I picked him up at about 30 miles an hour on the front fairing. I caught him right in the shoulder on the headlight, and I heard the crunching, and I said, this ain't gonna be so bad. Well, then that hip come around the side of this bike and snapped my leg. I mean, oh, it hurt. I hit the brakes, the deer fell off, I pumped it into first, and I got over him. I got over to the side of the road, threw my four-ways on, and I'm assessing the bike and myself, and I'm 6 miles from my house. I'm like, I could probably make it home, but the bike's brand new. I'm gonna need a police report. So that's when I made the decision to stay there and wait for the cops to come and help me out. And they did. And then once again, Locomotion took this bike. There was no structural damage. The fork didn't move, didn't damage any engine components. I broke $3,000 worth of plastic. So I got the bike back again, brand new looking. I've been riding her ever since. She's been to Myrtle Beach, she's been to Canada. Now she's been to Florida.
Well, how many miles do you have on your bike so far?
20,000.
Are you planning on keeping the bike, or is another bike on the horizon for you?
I would love a 2011 with the reverse and the ABS. But the truth is I take such a beating on this one that I'm keeping her.
Now, you almost didn't make it down here. You had another close call just a week or so before your trip to Florida. What happened there?
Yeah, I got out a little too soon. I knew I was going to be coming down here for a long trip, so I was anxious to get her on the road. I got her out a little early, and I was up in the mountains riding the twists, and I was having fun, and I was going a little too fast for the conditions. And when I came into a turn, there was an oncoming vehicle and road salt. And I had about 3 options, and I picked what I thought would be the easiest. I just drove straight off the road surface, out of the other vehicle's path, but I plowed up a lot of snow and rocks, and I damaged the fairing in the front on the left-hand side. Fortunately, once again, it was purely a cosmetic problem. The bike wasn't injured in any kind of way. Everybody at Victory took it apart for me. They knew I was coming down here, so they replaced the bracket I bent underneath that holds the front tip overs, and then they just smoothed the bent pieces back in, and I have the new fairing section is already at the shop. When I get back, they promised to install it for me. So once again, this bike will be dirty but solid.
Now, one thing I need to point out, talk about a small world. I'm in Florida, you're in upstate New York. The mechanic that is working on your bike is the same guy who worked on my 08 Vision, and that's Scott Ward. He moved from Florida up to your area. How's he to work with these days?
Scott, everybody at Locomotion are great people. I mean, they're bikers first and then businessmen second, really. They have a full line of Victory motorcycles, Triumph motorcycles, and Polaris off-road vehicles. Their shop will service any make or model bike. They ride them, they know what they're doing, they take their time, and I can't tell you how many times one of my bikes was in for a regular service, and I got a phone call, "Hey Chris, we found something, it's covered under extended warranty. If you don't mind, we'd like to hang onto your bike and fix it." Well, I basically don't even need those calls. Fix it. In fact, when it was in for the front tip over being bent up, they found the front fork had a leak in it, so I have a completely rebuilt front end now, thanks to extended warranty. It was worth the money, guys.
Now, one last question. As we pointed out right up front, you were one of the original VOG members. What do you think of the evolution over the site over the past 3 years?
Oh, it's terrific. I mean, you have anybody who rides anything can get on there, get information, meet people, find places to go. I've met so many people because of the site. Like I said, I'm down here for a free lunch. I went to Canada for a cup of coffee. Who knows, where I'm going to wind up next, and it's only because, you're typing on a message board and some guy in some place you've never been before says, "Oh, you ought to come look at this."
Well, Trekwolf for Chris, I want to tell you, it is a pleasure meeting you. I look forward to meeting even more VOG members as our lunch event goes on here at Volusia Motorsports. For the VOG.net, I'm the Gadget Guru Andy Parr, and I'll see you on the road and online.